I feel like I'm in a tug of war with my in-laws. I think my complaint is a bit of a white problem, but come on. I'm 24 years old and my boyfriend is 25. We've been dating for almost a year and I feel like I'm in the middle of a fight for attention with his family. We both already have degrees and work. I already live alone and I'm doing my second specialization, in addition to having much more flexibility in my schedule compared to him. I'm a psychologist and work only a few hours a day. He hasn't yet decided how he wants to pursue academics, so he's just working at the moment and lives with his parents. Even when we stayed, he basically couldn't sleep at my house. We only saw each other during the day on weekends or met for dinner after work during weekdays. After a lot of talk on my part and a lot of fights at his house with his parents, he started sleeping here sometimes on the weekend, usually once a month, at most twice. As the relationship progressed and we started dating, I started talking to him about it again, because I was bothered by the lack of his company, and we ended up only having sex once a month. I cut back on visits to spend the day here, since that basically we would spend a few hours together, have sex and he would have to leave, then I would feel like my house had a motel vibe, and he started sleeping every other weekend. Still not satisfied, I talked to him again. I really had the vibe of having shared custody, since I had a weekend for myself and another for the family, and if I wanted to do something with him on the weekend that wasn't mine, there was no chance. Furthermore, he works next door to my house, about 10-15 minutes walk away. It didn't make sense to me that we would meet for dinner and he wouldn't agree to sleep at my house afterwards, instead of going home late, and it was the biggest crime in the world for his family to sleep away from home during the week. Well, we arrived at the current situation. He started sleeping here every Tuesday to Wednesday and Friday to Saturday, and sometimes changes it to Sunday, and he leaves in the morning. My goal is not for him to be stuck in my house all the time. I also love doing my little things alone or with my friends. But I hate this obligation, or routine, that is established. We always have to do something on the days that were conquered and reserved for me, and anything outside of that doesn't happen. And if I have a commitment on one of those days, we don't see each other. I'm not very close to my family. We see very little of each other, despite keeping in frequent contact via text/call. The first opportunity one had to leave the house I hugged, so I often have doubts as to whether this is normal and I'm demanding too much. And I'm also aware that there are rules in other people's homes, and if you're under that roof, you need to follow. On the other hand, he has his financial stake in the house and also in the domestic services. So it's not like he's a supporter who has to accept anything, and I know it's not more than the minimum. It also weighs heavily on me that every time we talk, he goes there and tries to find a way, even if it doesn't turn out the way I hope, and I know that dealing with family is complicated, even more so as they weigh heavily on his side. This weekend he noticed that I was sad about not spending Sunday together and invited me to have lunch at his house. During the time I was there, I heard a lot of jokes that the parents made, like he didn't know where his plate was because he couldn't stay at home or he didn't remember their name and those cliches. Also, when I was leaving, his mother called out and was harassing us that I couldn't go by bus and had to take an Uber, and I swear, neither the area where he lives nor where I live are dangerous. The bus leaves from around the corner from his house and drops me off at the corner from my house, which is very convenient. I wasn't going to spend extra money because of her freakout, so to end the conversation he ordered an Uber for me. Finally, because I've already written a huge text. After this lunch, I'm very uncomfortable with this situation, because I basically have zero stress with my family wanting to rule my life, and I don't want to deal with this with other people's families. I don't know if the trend is to improve, as it already is, or if it will always be a thorn in my side, and I'm scared to death of it. He's a very good boyfriend. I feel like that's the only problem between us. He is very respectful, treats me like a little princess. I notice that he is hardworking, always validates my feelings and tries to improve what I point out. I don't want to lose a relationship that I consider very good because of one problem. especially since I realize that he really makes an effort and tries to impose himself in relation to his family. But I also don't like having to deprive myself or follow a routine that I didn't choose, because basically that's what I have to see him, and I'm very afraid of always having problems with his family putting some kind of pressure on him. I already take this to therapy quite often, and to my own boyfriend himself, but I wanted to hear opinions, advice, or even if anyone has been through this and how things turned out. Thank you to those who read this far and don't hate me for the text. I met a man online and I just had a bad time. I met my boyfriend on Instagram. I lived in Minas and he in Brasilia. It took a few months of conversation. At first I didn't pay much attention, but little by little he started to win me over. He liked Fire Emblem, he liked the books I read, he watched anime. It was a subject that never ended. He always talked about how good it was, how all he wanted in life was to experience great love, that if he had it he would care for it and love it more than anything. He said he loved me and that he was suffering from the distance. He said that I should move in with him, that money wouldn't be a problem, that he was a provider, that he never let a woman pay the bills. He is a public servant and a teacher. I was crazy. I practically ran away from home. I wanted to experience great love too, who wouldn't? I told him that I would like to live in a good place and he said no problem. He arranged everything in my name, and when I arrived with 2 suitcases and nothing else, we had our honeymoon. We couldn't let go. It was sex several times a day. He liked my fetish. We went for walks. He gave me a bed, stove, refrigerator, notebook, everything I needed. Princess dream, right? Then came the second month. The bills arrived. The prince was now a complainer, all the time saying how broke he was, that he couldn't spend any more, that he was hasty, that this lifestyle wouldn't work. Sustain yourself. One day he admitted that he didn't like the things I liked that much, that he hadn't read the books he said he read. He adopted his genius tactic that he learned from a YouTuber. He saw what I posted and looked for summaries about the subject on the internet to chat with me. I didn't even know what to say about it. He was so nervous, it seemed like he wanted to break up. One day he humiliated me. I ended the relationship. He freaked out. He only talked about killing himself, that he would change his way, that I needed to believe. I came back, but things were never the same. I looked at his messages to his friends when he slept, just complaints. I had deceived him, that I was a scammer, that I didn't want anything to do with anything. But as he said in his words, I was addicted to cum and that's why I couldn't finish. Now he barely spent time at home. He preferred to sleep at his parents' house, go out with friends after work and didn't even tell me. I think he cheats on me, but I don't even know if I care. My depression only got worse. I had an eating disorder again that I thought I had already overcome. In a month I lost more than 12 kilograms. I was already thin. I can't eat properly. My menstruation stopped. I was just thinking about suicide. I had to adopt a religion to survive. He says I'm sick, that I should look for a clinic, that I can't wait for him, that the tree has dried up, that he's too young to be going through this, that I'm going to die, and he doesn't want to carry that guilt. He is 34 years old and I am 24. He broke it off again, days ago. I thought I would feel desperate because I couldn't pay the bills, rent and everything else, but I felt a lot of relief too. He freaked out at my neglect, begged for a second chance, said he loved me, that he regretted everything he did. He said he would seek psychological help, but he was afraid the psychologist would make him stop loving me because he is taking on the roles of father and boyfriend. I said he just had to tell me how he took a woman out of her parents' house, who now don't even want to see her painted gold, who left a job to be with him, who ended a relationship because she believed his lies and now she's trapped in an expensive kitnet, without being able to pay a contract fine, and for him to explain that he isn't able to do that either. Maybe the psychologist will understand. He was embarrassed, said everything would be fine and left. I'm going to delete this account. I think Reddit hasn't been doing me much good. My outlet became sex. I became compulsive, addicted to pornography. talking to strangers. I think it's the only source of current dopamine, but it's not right. I can't go back to my state now. If everything goes well, I'll pass some competition and then I'll have my life. A rant about changes and lost connections. I'm 26 years old and I'm facing a delicate moment in my 5-year relationship with my girlfriend. For the first 2 years, I was incredibly happy, but recently I've noticed a significant shift in the dynamic between us, and I feel the need to share my thoughts. My girlfriend is a wonderful person in many ways. She is supportive, hardworking, communicative, and caring. However, some issues have arisen over time that are impacting our relationship. Sexual incompatibility has become a glaring issue over the past 3 years, and this has affected our intimate connection. Furthermore, her constant negativity, combined with stress and anxiety, has been challenging for both of them. Trust was shaken by betrayal during the pandemic, which further complicated the situation. I understand and respect the challenges she faces with depression and anxiety, but I realize it is starting to affect me too. Despite my sincere desire to help her, I feel helpless in the face of these issues, without seeing any prospect of improvement in the short or medium term. Additionally, I have been reflecting on my own personal growth and the search for a more balanced life. I have made an effort to take care of my physical and mental health, while I realize that my girlfriend is struggling in this regard, which has significantly impacted our relationship. It's painful to admit, but I felt a gradual loss of the charm we had at the beginning. Although I value her qualities, I realize that the differences in our approaches to life are affecting our emotional connection. Lately, I've been feeling the desire to explore new experiences, meet people with similar interests, and live a passion that I feel is fading. I wish things could go back to the way they were before, when we were more adventurous and optimistic together. I am aware that some of this change can be attributed to the emotional struggles she faces, but I also recognize that we both deserve happiness and personal fulfillment. I don't have easy answers or immediate solutions, but I wanted to express my feelings in some way. Thank you for reading this outburst. She said she only agreed to go out with me because I write well, and I don't know what to think. Last week we met, at the office counter. Beautiful, big, healthy woman, 27 years old, had a small son with an Indian name, a boy who, like every child, I managed to win over with chocolates, which I always have in the cupboard for certain occasions. In fact, children are just mischievous and suspicious in books and films. The boy could not see wrong who pleased him so much, and the mother could not be an enemy or indifferent to anyone who liked her son. I bridged the gap between the hearts of the son and the mother. It was not a pretense, but rather work taken seriously and well thought out. I prolonged the appointment a little, started the conversation, asked about life, more than the appointment required, and, upon handing him the statement he needed for his son, I said goodbye, promising to follow up on the case. 2 days later, I sent a message. Simple, protocol, bureaucratic. He asked if he had gotten the job as a kid there at CMI, to which he responded quickly, and we started talking. We exchanged messages until the end of the week, and, as I invited her for a coffee on Saturday, she said she couldn't, because she would be with her son, and the father would only pick him up on Monday. Monday, the day before a holiday, the mayor decided to amend everything, something rare even in the public service. I thanked God, the management, the universe itself, the holiday. I even prayed for the soul of Marshal Diodoro, a brave big man who today is the name of a street, for having proclaimed the Republic on the 15th, precisely on the 15th, and not a day before or after. With great tact, in order not to cause any problems, I said that we could go out on Monday, the day I always visit the municipal park. I lied, and I would like it to come with me. She accepted, and the meeting went perfectly. I wasn't someone to date, to bring into life, nothing like that. It was just a chance meeting between two idle people in need of love and sex. At the end of the day, however, when I was calling an Uber to take her home, she said something to me that surprised me. I agreed to go out with you because you write well, and I like people who use enclasis. Good heavens! So much for her to like, the Sincericide continued, you are convinced, but the way you write melted me. Ao ouvir aquilo, prometi mentalmente mandar rezar uma missa pelas almas das minhas professoras de português do primário. A aparência de mulher não era de quem gostas de poja, de Clarice e de outras literatices, altina, grande mesmo, parecia mais gostar de fisiculturismo, basquete. Relendo a conversa no WhatsApp, muito mais tarde, descobria enclais, a mensagem dizia que vou buscá-la, não se preocupe, a minha convidada, e faço questo, assim mesmo, com ponto e vírgula e três pontinhos, mas ela gosta mesmo de buscá-la, enclais que eu sei sem sentir. Quem é mais louco? Eu, a mulher ou eu a língua portuguesa?